Welcome back. The importance of marketing in a post-recession milieu was the focus of a seminar delivered by Professor Philip Kotler in Sri Lanka last month. The marketing guru also touched on the methods of satisfying the needs of a technology-driven generation, or Generation G as it is known. So what was it like having the world-renowned guru in our midst? Here to discuss the Kotler effect is Professor Udita Liyanage, Director of the Postgraduate Institute of Management. Udita, welcome to our show, Benchmark. So tell us, what was it like having the guru of marketing here visiting our island?
Professor Philip Kotler is a hybrid. He is a creator of marketing knowledge, and at the same time, he is a disseminator of marketing knowledge. And I can't think of very many gurus who have played this dual role of knowledge creator cum disseminator. Way back in the early 1960s, Kotler felt that price theory does not explain market behavior. Price theory does not explain consumer behavior. And then he got interested in marketing when he identified variables other than price which determine the behavior of consumers. And then in 1967, he wrote his seminal book, Marketing Management, and told the world that there is this thing called marketing. There is this philosophy of marketing, which is different to the function of marketing. And then he described some of the key concepts of marketing. The point I'm making, Savitri, is that Kotler's key role is A, he is a knowledge creator, and B, he's a knowledge disseminator. So I think having Kotler in Sri Lanka was a great thing. And I must commend the Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing for getting him down and for letting him speak to our business people, not just marketing people in this country. And I think it was great having him here.
Philip Kotler said that while he was here, the reception he received from Sri Lanka was outstanding. What more did he say on this, and did he tell us where we were scoring our brownie points?
I think he was impressed by our reception, and this is characteristic of Sri Lankans. And in fact, he said SL, Sri Lanka, stands for, what did he say? He said, so lovely, Sri Lanka. And in fact, I had the opportunity of talking to him one-to-one. And this is one thing he said about Sri Lanka. He said there is this Sri Lankanness that he has already identified and recognized. And when it comes to Sri Lanka tourism, perhaps this is something that we can and we should leverage, this whole Sri Lankanness. And I think in developing the positioning strategy for Sri Lanka, something that we should keep in mind is to identify the Sri Lankanness and to project the Sri Lankanness. The old marketing paradigm has it that consumers make decisions rationally all the time, and that they attempt to maximize value or utility. Now this again is something that belongs to the old paradigm. Now marketers realize that consumers act not just rationally, but they decide emotionally. So the emotional component is extremely important, and sometimes consumers actually don't attempt to maximize utility or value. They say, well, this is good enough, and they settle for that which is good enough. So the point I'm making, Savitri, is that we have to reinvent marketing, and this message Kotler makes very clearly that if you stick to the old assumptions of marketing, then you can't go forward. You have to question, you have to challenge some of the old assumptions of marketing, and you've got to reinvent marketing. And Kotler made this point very clearly, and I think this is a message that we've got to heed going forward.
Now, he also spoke about how his wife is concerned about his safety when he travels. Presumably this was in context of the past and in reference to our land. Right or wrong, what does he say about Sri Lanka today? And what about the other hotspots in the world, the Big Apple, for instance? It doesn't seem to be as safe somehow.
If there is no safety, at least perceived safety, then we can't attract foreign direct investment, we can't attract tourists. And this is called the hygiene factor. Now, fortunately, we have the hygiene factors in place now. But going forward, we've got to do something more. We've got to create those motivators to attract foreign direct investment and to attract tourists. So we've got the foundation, but we've got to go beyond that. And for that, and this is something that Kotler in fact highlighted in his presentations, you've got to have a strategy in place. And Savitri, this is a point I would like to make, that many organizations, when it comes to marketing, think of marketing strategy. You know, they think of a product strategy, they think of a price strategy, they think of a communication strategy, and they think of a distribution strategy. Now, that is good, but not good enough. I think the point that Kotler made, and a point that must be clearly recognized, is that marketing strategy is good, but that must be based on what is called strategic marketing. You know, and that is true for tourism, that is true for any industry. Now, what is strategic marketing? How does it differ from marketing strategy? When it comes to strategic marketing, you have to choose your battlefield. You have to choose the markets in which you are going to operate, your target markets. The second very important aspect of strategic marketing is to position your product or service. Now, again, you made reference to Sri Lanka tourism. Now, this is something that you need to do. We need to identify our critical key target markets. And having done that, we got to say, this is Sri Lanka tourism. This is our positioning. And we make it absolutely clear to all those who are looking at Sri Lanka. What is the positioning of Sri Lanka tourism? And there must be a clear statement, a clear articulation of the positioning statement, and that must be clear to all and sundry, both people involved in the industry and those who are not. So, clearly defining your target market and then defining a positioning strategy, I think should precede your marketing strategy, your product strategy, your price strategy, and so on. And this distinction is something that must be clearly recognized. I think Kotler made this point very clearly, and a point that Sri Lankan organizations must, I think, clearly identify and recognize.
We take a quick commercial break now. On the other side, Professor Udita Liyanage talks about sustainable best practices and corporate social responsibility. Don't go away. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching the Big Picture Business program, and we continue with more views and insights from Professor Udita Liyanage. Now, we can't forget the influence that the internet and social media is having on the overarching effect it has on the marketing environment. You talked about the 4 paradigms of past and present, but how does one actually adapt what Kotler says, his mantra, to the realities on the ground here?
Kotler's take on this was that there are what he called disruptive technologies, right? And if marketers, if business people don't identify the emergence and the impact that these disruptive technologies are going to make, then you're going to lose the plot. In fact, he referred to a number of disruptive technologies. If you take photo films versus digital photography, you know, total paradigm shift. If you take general hospitals versus outpatient clinics, right? Here again, it's disruptive technology. Traditional media versus social media that you referred to. If you look at my field, the classroom education versus distance education. So if you don't recognize the unfolding patterns, the changes that are taking place, and then gear yourself, change your business model, change your strategy to respond to these new emerging technologies, then you are going to be history. You are going to fail. There are others who are going to catch up, who are more receptive and more responsive to these changes, will get ahead. So I think it's extremely important to recognize the changes that are taking place and be ready to face the new challenges.
Kotler said that in this interconnected world, people may no longer spend as much on advertising as they did in the past. Now, looking at Sri Lanka, and we really haven't progressed that much, how do you view this statement? How relevant do you think this statement is in the current context here?
This is an uncomfortable truth when it comes to marketers. I think marketers now have less influence when it comes to managing and controlling the message. The old paradigm, as I said, was that you design a message, you control the media, you control the channels of communication, and then you direct a particular communication message at a target market. And then you expect the desired response from the target market. Now, that is too simplistic in this day and age. You've got to realize that you don't have total control over the message that you want to communicate with your target markets. And therefore, if you don't do the right thing, you are going to be exposed.
So like you said, Kotler spoke at length about people, planet, profit in developing a marketing DNA for today's world. Now, may I ask you, is he really jumping on the Gates buffet bandwagon where vis-a-vis real rich business people in the world are taking to philanthropy in a big way?
Yeah, I think philanthropy per se may not work. I think the important thing is to talk about focused or strategic philanthropy, if you like. You know, if organizations see a connection between their business model and the good that they do for the community and for the planet, if they see this connection, then there is the motivation for them to do the good things in the long run. But if they don't see a connection, if they see this as mere charity, then they don't have the motivation and the drive to do it in the long term. You know, they might do it for a short while, but I don't think that is the way forward. The way forward, as I said, is to see the connection between sustainability, profitability, and returnability. Now, if you see that, then you say, well, here is our sustainability theme, and this theme connects directly with our business model, right? And if you see this connection, then sustainability becomes a part of your business model. Gone are the days when you said sustainability is a good thing to do, but it doesn't really relate to the core of our business. You know, it's a nice thing to do. Now, that is not so. This, I think, is an extremely important message, because what Kotler basically said is that research done over the last 20 years bear out this fact that doing well and doing good are related, right? If you want to do well, you got to do good. And doing good is looking after the community in which you operate and be concerned about the planet, about the environment. So these are not just nice things to do, but they are part of your ethos, they are part of your business model, a part of the reason why you exist in the first place.
Let me play the devil's advocate here. Take Bill Gates, for instance. The more popular he becomes in a country like India, his business, which he says he has retired from, will prosper given the numbers involved, right? Now, is this the way to go? Is this where big business is actually putting its money? Doing sustainability or CSR initiatives where at the end of the day, the impacts will be on their profit?
I don't think business people act in a totally selfless way. I think we are looking at a win-win situation here. Sustainability attempts, CSR endeavors, I think increase and enhance the reputation of the organization. And in fact, Kotler talked about the reputation quotient of organizations. And one way in which you can raise your profile, enhance your reputation, your corporate reputation, is by doing good things, CSR and sustainability. And what's wrong with it? Right? You're a responsible corporate citizen, and you're, creating value in the society around you. You're protecting the environment, and as a result, there's a payoff, and the payoff is the reputation, the raising of your profile, and so it's a win-win. And I don't think you should complain about that.
And that concludes our interview with Professor Udita Leonage. It's time now for another commercial break. When we return, we talk to economist and LMD columnist Samantha Amarasinghe about the progress being made on Sri Lanka's port development program. Stay with us.